Welcome to the Hope for Parents with Struggling Teens podcast. I'm Brandon Jaffe. Join us as we explore relationship and mental health issues by weeding out the trends in the mental health industry to uncover what truly works in improving our emotional well-being and relationships. At Inspired Resolutions Counseling, we specialize in providing interventions and resources for families with teens, focusing on topics such as teen mental health, parenting challenges, and family dynamics.
This episode is a recording of the Hope for Parents with Struggling Teens group. The voices of the participants have been edited out for confidentiality purposes.
He said he's not finishing the school year strong because he wasn't doing his homework. It sounds like he turned things in, but he wasn't doing as much as you kind of thought he should be doing. And then it sounds like you're not sure, but you don't think he did well on a test. How many days of the week do you talk to him about school? So your son cannot function without you getting involved in schooling every day. Why else would you spend so much time talking to him about school then? And that's the slippery slope, right, you guys? Sometimes this nagging gets you the result that you want. Your child turns in the homework that they wouldn't have turned in. Now, it's interesting because I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of parents about this same thing. And a lot of times the parents think that it's working. If you talk to the kid, it's not working. And then the parents tend to look at it and go, oh, well, yeah, we're still struggling to get them to turn the homework in, and we're still having these battles. And right. So sometimes parents think that it's working and it's not. But occasionally, like you guys, your nagging works. Does anybody know what my next question for them is? How long are you willing to do this? How long am I willing to nag and take responsibility for my child's school? And it's interesting, you used the word accountability. You said, I hold him accountable because the school doesn't really. You backpedaled a little bit, but for the most part, the feeling is the school's not holding them accountable, therefore I need to hold them accountable and make sure that they get the grades. And I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to say it's right or wrong, but I always ask parents to be honest about whether or not it's working. Are they really getting grades because of your nagging? And then, is the relationship improving because of your nagging? And then, is this sustainable? It'd be interesting to ask your son if he thought it was working before and whether or not he was building resentment. When you ask yourself, am I actually getting the desired result? Is it protecting the relationship? And is this sustainable? It's a whole nother perspective. How many years have kids been in school by the age of 14? Maybe 11 years, depending on the school and preschool and kindergarten, right? And so I know how hard it is to watch your child fail. I know the heartbreak parents feel just at their slightest discomfort. But again, is this sustainable? Is my influence going to be sustainable in the long run? Are these battles and these fights that we're having building the relationship of influence or breaking it down? So we know that he's reporting that he cannot focus. We don't know what that means, though. We know that he is stating that he's overwhelmed by normal everyday school. We know that he's annoyed by his mom. And we know that he believes that she's affecting his physical health. Now, does anybody think that she's the reason for his health issues? So here's what we know, okay, from my perspective. Number one, we know that he does not take accountability for procrastination. We know that he is not willing to be uncomfortable. We know that he is willing to make mom feel bad rather than sit with stress. He doesn't want to just be stressed out by school and know that he's not doing the right thing. And when you're an adult and you do the wrong thing, you either blame others or you just take accountability and sit in the discomfort of, I'm not doing the right thing. We know that he's actually willing to go as far as to state that you are such a terrible parent that you are affecting his physical health. That's a big statement. Now, I'm not saying you're enabling him, but that's a sign to me that there might be some enabling going on. And there's another sign, the fact that thinks he has a right to not feel stress. Who does he think he is? Of course you feel stress. You're in school, dude. It's the last month or two of school. Of course you're stressed out of your mind. In fact, you're going to have some sleepless nights. We've kind of shifted our mindset in mental health, and I watched it happen, and I don't like it, and I'm going to fight it. I don't care what every other therapist does, but I am not going to tell somebody that they are mentally ill because they get really, really, really stressed out while going to school. And I am not going to go along with this thing where we make teens believe that they have a right to not feel stressed. Stress is not a mental health disorder. Anxiety that does not make sense and does not fit the situation, that is an anxiety disorder. This dude's not doing his homework. This guy's staying up too late at night. He deserves all the stress that he has. Now, I can be the nagging parent who gives him an excuse to not take a look at himself, or I can walk alongside him, not enable him through nagging, not take responsibility for his journey. Say, I love you and I'm sorry that you failed. I'm so stressed out. I get it. Yes. Your stress makes sense. It's not a disorder. Of course you're stressed out. But we're not having loving conversations with our children like that. I'm all about balance. I don't like it when a child comes home and isn't doing their homework, and that's all the parent thinks about, talks about, maybe even yells, maybe punishes. But I also don't like that thing that some parents do where they fall for allowing the child to aggrandize their situation. Your teacher's not worse than teachers have been since the history of time. You don't have more stress than most people had in the history of time with school. You have less. Expectations of you are not more than is reasonable for a child your age. You do not get to have the luxury of succeeding while not doing the work above and beyond. I'll love you no matter what decisions you make. I'm not going to tell you that you have an anxiety disorder because you're stressed out 5 days a week thinking about school. I can still empathize with you, give you a hug, tell you I'm proud of you. And so sometimes it's really hard because parents will get wrapped up in the nagging, then they'll get wrapped up in the possible mental health issue, and then they'll get wrapped back up in the nagging and then wrapped up in the enabling, and it goes back and forth instead of just, I'm going to behave healthy, your journey is not my responsibility. Okay? It is not sustainable by any means to nag a child every day to do their homework. That is not how school is supposed to be. It's reasonable that many people are going to fail out. Now, there was a big shift in school when I was kind of 3/4 of the way through high school. So around my junior year, what did we start doing in schools? Failure. They have removed the idea. It is so hard to fail out of school. They don't hold anybody back. They have made it so hard to fail out of school that it's become this kind of arbitrary thing, right? You can fail, but not really. And the lengths to which they go to make sure you don't fail is mind-numbing. It gets confusing for everybody. So you've got to remember that these kids on a conscious or maybe subconscious, at least subconscious level, maybe even a conscious level, know that you guys are all crazy for what you want them to do in school. Why are you crazy? Because what you're telling them they need to do isn't how it works in school anymore. Now, I'm not speaking to all schools, but by and large, I'm speaking to public school system right now. Recently, I was having the same conversation, verbatim what you were saying. And I asked the child, well, what's going on from your perspective? They're crazy. I'm not going to fail anything. What do you mean? I've already got it worked out. They're nagging me all the time. I hate my parents. I don't want to go home. I'm not going home. And now this kid was a little more defiant. So he'd go home when he wanted, didn't listen to his parents. The relationship was really broken. What's interesting, though, is this dude had a good GPA. He was kind of teetering it. He had just around kind of a B plus average on everything, failed nothing, spent half the semesters in failure, pulled it together right at the end, and is going to his parents, what's your problem? Why would I follow your way? I could follow your way, be miserable all semester, or I could do it my way. I figured out school, and I had that conversation with the kid. He said, yeah, I've got all these teachers figured out. I know what to do. And deep inside, I was thinking, this dude's brilliant. This dude is brilliant, man. He just bypassed so much pain. He's not putting an effort. All he did was optimize the system that he was given. He wasn't cheating. He wasn't doing anything nefarious. He was just figuring out the system the way that he wanted to figure out the system. Now, again, I am not advocating for that system. Why I'm pointing that out is we can't have expectations for our kids to not play the system that they're in. We can have candid conversations with them. We can tell them what we expect and what we hope. And then wait, whose journey is it though? Their journey. It is their journey, not yours. Yes, at 14, I know a 14-year-old is young. I'm not saying don't give your opinion. I'm not saying don't set boundaries on the things that they use, like your internet, your car. But nagging on a daily basis has never built a relationship. It's never built long-term influence. It has never convinced a child, to see things differently. It has only fixed the problem immediately. Sometimes, though, it causes a bigger problem. Do you guys understand that? Well, and he may. Again, it's his journey, though. Without pain, without failure, you cannot become resilient. You guys are the reason that they don't experience enough pain and failure. And you are not helping them. You are getting in the way of them becoming more resilient for the future. And so I challenge you, I want you to ask yourself what you truly believe inside when I give you this message. When I say your child cannot be successful, cannot be resilient, if he or she does not experience failure and does not experience pain outside of your punishment and outside of your nagging pain that they feel and the yelling and the punishments you give, that's not the pain that I'm talking about. That teaches nobody anything. But if I told you that if you protect your child from the pain of their choices, if you protect your child from failure that they have chosen. Again, I'm not saying don't give them resources. I'm not saying don't teach them lessons so they can navigate around a lot of pain. But when they come to the point where it's on them and you make the choice and you're the one making sure they don't feel the pain, right? Not you're walking alongside them as they navigate, but you're the one leading it. When you are the one leading it, you are creating a situation where they are less resilient than they deserve to be in the future. So when I give you that piece of information, if you're somebody who's nagging, if you're somebody who's struggling to stop yourself from allowing your child to feel pain or fail, I want you to ask yourself if what I'm saying is resonating in that truth part of you and you're fighting it, or if you just go, no, I don't agree with that. That's the pain. I love that you said that because that's the truth and heart of many parents. I'm willing to mitigate their pain so they feel a sting. I'm not going to let them damage their path. True pain means I made a mistake or something happened where my future is different. But here's the thing. Every time you damage your future, you create options if you make different choices. So I'll give you an example. If I have a teen who always dreamed of going to the Air Force, and their senior year, they decided to tank it, and they decided to try and get away with smoking weed, and they get in trouble. And it gets put on their record, and the Air Force decides not to take them. That is life-altering. They will not go to the Air Force anymore. But I don't know that that's something a mom or a dad should be protecting them from. Because while they might not go to the Air Force, if it stings, if it creates pain and damage in them, a lot of other opportunities might line up. In fact, being a believer, I believe that there will be so many opportunities for other paths that lost opportunity has nothing to do with their fate or anything else. But that is hard for parents to swallow. No, I'm going to protect them through nagging. I will damage my relationship before I allow them to have a life-altering moment in their life. I am telling you right now, no good comes from getting in the way of your child's journey. I'm not saying that I'm not going to jump in front of a bullet for my daughter. I will. But that's so easy. No, what's really hard is going to be not resenting her if she makes bad mistakes that I told her not to make. Walking alongside her if she did so much damage to her journey that I can't see straight. You know what's going to be really hard is seeing that if she would just do that little thing, she wouldn't have to suffer pain. See, this is harder than taking a bullet for your child. Walking alongside your child, watching them suffer, allowing them to feel pain while you love on them with no resentment, I would argue is a million times harder than taking a bullet for your child. How do we get rid of the anger when they haven't done anything to us? I'm not saying how do we become happy about their choices, but it's kind of an odd thing, right? With the rest of the world, we don't get angry at people for making stupid decisions. We just kind of go, we judge them a little bit, maybe offer them a little bit of advice. But we don't go, oh man, you really hurt yourself. I'm so ticked at you. Sometimes we do, but we all know that's not healthy, right? But so why do we get so angry with our children instead of just, wow, I don't agree with this. I love you. No, I'm not going to support this or participate in it, but I'll absolutely treat you with respect and make our relationship about bonding and loving each other. Anybody having an internal kind of dialogue or reaction to what I'm talking about tonight? You know, I love that you just brought something. You know, you've got a daughter who's not taking your advice, is making mistakes. She's going to suffer, but you bring up a good point. That doesn't mean you're not going to suffer. There are some things where she's going to affect you. Can you give me an example of one? I am so glad you said that. Your daughter is dressing in ways that don't reflect the values you taught her. She doesn't treat people the way that you raised her, and she gets in trouble. People are noticing and people are judging you. I'm not going to pretend like people don't judge you, you guys. People judge you because of your kids. Absolutely. Do all people? No. Do a lot of parents out there get it? Absolutely. Are some judging the heck out of you? Absolutely. There are some self-righteous parents out there who are terrible parents but have perfect kids, and they are totally judging you because they think they're amazing. God put you in your child's life. And parents love saying, hey, life isn't fair, but when it comes to being embarrassed by our children, we don't remember that, hey, that's not something we can control. Others may be judging me, but I can't control my child in this way, and I can't control the way people view me. I can focus on who I am and how I'm going to show up every day, right? Parents forget to do that for themselves, and embarrassment often is the reason that parents nag. Parents get really angry, and why parents take things personally. And so I do not think that we should be parenting from an ego-driven place. It's hard. I'm going to struggle with it. I am not judging you. But we've got to remember, we don't parent out of fear. We don't parent out of ego. We do what's healthy regardless of how our child's behaving during this season of life. I don't know how the future is going to turn out for your child or you. I know that we're supposed to love on our children unconditionally, any way we can. We are not supposed to enable them or be codependent, and we cannot take it personally, because taking it personally leads to what's called resentment. Resentment is the killer of your half of the relationship. Resentment is your fault. I say that all the time, and I'll never stop saying it. You have a daughter who's doing poorly in school, is being defiant, is going to therapy. A whole bunch of people are trying to get her to do better in school. They're giving her help. They're begging her. They're taking time out to lecture her, taking a whole bunch of time to make sure she understands how lucky she is. Has anybody asked her if she wants all that help? Well, what is she going to do? She's in the principal's office being told she needs to make a plan. But has she ever said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want to get better grades in school? This is the issue. The school is inconsistent with their expectations, and somehow a child cannot go to school and get A's and B's. The expectation of school is that you get A's and B's. Sure, they want you to show up, but I can tell you, I've been working with schools long enough since COVID to tell you that the energy, the message, the consistency has shifted. Kids know that if they get A's and B's, they can figure everything else out. Now, let me ask you this. And she's got this whole team of people trying to help her. Help her do what? Get better grades? No. Help her follow their rules that don't make sense. They don't make sense to me. If you cannot show up to school and get A's and B's, if somebody, now I run my own business, so that doesn't count, but let's say that I went and decided to work for Chevron. And they told me, hey, Brandon, you can get your full salary if you show up half the days. What do you think I'm going to do? Remember, I've got a 6-year-old daughter I want to spend as much time as possible with right now. And it's not my company, so I don't love the CEO. I'm not stoked about my office. You know, they're not pouring me cocktails and making me sushi when I get to work. So if you tell me I can get my full salary if I go half the days I'm supposed to go for work, what do you think I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to go half the days. So we've got all these therapists, we've got all these school officials saying, come on, get to school, get to school. And what you guys don't understand is she's deep inside, she's going, man, you guys are a bunch of idiots. I'm getting A's and B's, which is the whole point of school, because everybody knows the point of school is grades. I'm getting A's and B's, and you guys want me to fix my behavior, but my behavior is getting me A's and B's. And then she can. I've had teens one up it and ask the parents, "What did you?" I had a teen right in my office, right on this couch right here. Say, "What did you get in high school?" The parents had already shared that they basically failed in the early days, and then and they said, "But it was a different time." And this child was like, well, I don't care if it was a different time. I'm getting A's. This child was getting straight A's. What's insane is to tell somebody you have a problem when the assessment of that problem says they don't have a problem. The school is somehow making it so that you can succeed without showing up. So the issue is your child isn't compliant. She's saying, I will not allow you to convince me of something that seems insane. Great. Focus on your relationship with her. Stop talking about school with her. Why talk about school with her? Why are you having this conversation with her? She has figured the school system out. I can tell you this. If a parent ever comes to me and says, hey, my child's getting A's and B's in school, I think we should punish her. I'm going to go, what? I'm not going to punish her for that. I don't encourage you to punish her for that. I don't encourage punishment anyways, but that sounds crazy. My child's not showing up to school. Okay, is that the problem? Yes. What's going to happen if they don't show up to school? The adults are going to be really, really mad. Are they going to get kicked out? No. Are they going to not be able to graduate? No, they will be able to graduate. Then help me understand. Because it sounds like they are just navigating the system that they're given while a bunch of adults are telling them that system that you're following and working very well, we don't want you to follow that system. Just follow what we say, not the system we gave you. And that's on all of us. It is society, it is America as a whole that has changed the school system. It is the school system's fault. No offense. I mean, I run the risk of them hearing me say this and losing a lot of business, but still, like, think about that logic, you guys. She doesn't have to. The school says she can pass without it. And I want you to remember what you said. You're like me. There's some parents on here who are really good and compliant people. And if you tell them you don't have to show up every day to work, they're going to show up every day to work because they are compliant personalities. And they're going to do more than they have to without getting a payment for it, without getting any type of acknowledgement for it. And I can respect that. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just not built like that. Which is fine. Again, I don't judge either one. But for me, you give me a system. If it's not my company that I'm building, and I'm going to make the same amount of money no matter what, I am not going to go above and beyond unless there's an opportunity for somebody to acknowledge that and promote me. Now, I worked my butt off in school because I really loved psychology. Before that, I didn't work my butt off. I've told all of you, I literally failed the history of rock. I believe that I am a successful adult. I love my life. I've got all the stuff that you're supposed to have. I love helping people. You said you wouldn't go to work if you got the option to go half-time. So this is between her and the school. Now, if the school fails her out, that's her lesson. I don't know what the phone and iPad have to do with it. Now, if you told me she's doing some shady stuff with the phone, she's using it to cheat in school, now I understand taking the phone away. But the phone and the iPad have nothing to do with anything. How many kind, loving, curious conversations have you had about her life this week? I'm going to stop you. That's a parenting moment. I was referencing the 90-10, guys. I want to know how many times you had a surface level, pleasant, didn't matter, fun, joyous conversation with your child. How many games have you played? How many jokes have you told? How many times have you belly laughed with your child? And I'm going to challenge all of you to really think about that. 90-10 rule. Somebody recite it for me. What is the 90-10 rule again? 90% of your engagement. That means if you have 100 minutes of engagement with your child, 90 of those minutes are surface level, have nothing to do with parenting them, have nothing to do with giving advice, nothing to do with nagging, reminding them, just total surface level, means nothing stuff. What do we call that with other people? Small talk. 90% of it, small talk. 10%, which would only be how many minutes out of 100 minutes? 10 minutes of parenting. That means you can't nag every day because you don't have enough minutes in your 90-10. That means that you don't engage in waking them up because if you want to wake them up every day, guess what? That's a part of your parenting gig. Every second you spend telling them to get up is wasting your 10%. I have parents fight me on this for years, and I mean years. And then one day they get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they finally do it. And they go, man, Brandon, I wish I would have listened several years ago, because there's a shift happening now. Well, it's probably going to work like this. She still doesn't want to go to school. She's still getting A's and B's. She's got a whole team of people, except for you, bugging her every day. And you have less fights. And you're less exhausted. Parents don't understand how exhausted you are because of all of the engagement. So stop dealing with her. It's not working. Well, if she's got A's and B's, she will. But if you create a resentful heart in you because she knows how resentful you are, she might not. But know what you're not doing? You are not creating an independent person who learns to take care of themselves and make their own decisions. Good. And that's great that they have a bond. But that's not therapy. And that's not going to make her go to school. It's not going to build your influence. It's not going to help the systems in the family. It's not going to train her for independence. It's not going to help you with your resentment towards your daughter. It's not going to help you get a good night's sleep. It's not going to reduce the chaos in the home. It will likely increase the chaos in the home, increase resentment on your part because it's not going to work and you had to do so much work just to get the phone away. It's going to increase resentment on her part because she's already getting A's and B's and you're punishing her. It's going to break the trust she has in her therapist that she likes right now. It will likely make you so much more exhausted that you become even more resentful and lead you down more rabbit holes. In fact, the only good I can think coming from it is whatever therapist's couch you land on is going to make some money off of you. So why don't you take care of yourself and practice 90-10? You guys deserve to follow 90-10. I'm not saying school is wrong. I am not a school administrator. I have worked in many schools. I did not grow up with that being the case in schools, but that is the culture now. Is it right? I don't know. Is it wrong? I don't know. Does it feel good on my end? No, it feels kind of weird. Does that mean I'm right and it's going to have consequences? I don't know. We don't know what the consequences are of this, but this is a decision that the schools are making and have been making for quite some time now. And it might be a good thing. This might be enough hope that gets him motivated to go to college and everything else. Again, I don't know that the schools are wrong. What I do know is a lot of parents are up in arms, ruining their relationships, trying to pretend like the school deal is different than what it is. School is between who? The kid and the school. It is your job to provide resources so they can be successful in school. That might mean paying for tutors. It might mean attending meetings. It means being in the loop. I don't want you just totally not in the loop. But what it doesn't mean is taking responsibility totally for their journey when they don't want any responsibility for their journey. Your son is taking responsibility for his journey. I had a parent tell me the other day, yeah, but when they go to college, they're not going to be successful. And I look at them and I said, what are you talking about? Well, they're not going to stand for this in college. I said, what college are you talking about? That's not true. There are some colleges that are really rigid and strict. And I'm going to be honest, there are some colleges where if you don't show up, you don't get a grade. There are some colleges where you don't ever have to show up. But I can tell you this, I don't know what their college is going to be like. They might be able to pull the same stuff in a lot of colleges. Sure. Oh, you mean it goes through waves and they're going to have to figure out how to rise to the occasion if they don't get in a situation that allows their habits? I don't know. You don't know, and I don't know what's going to happen when they get into the workforce. They might have to suffer and experience pain in order to be successful. You're right. It might be a problem, bud. That's not your journey, though. It's theirs. It is your job to protect the relationship. It is your job to provide resources, to love on them unconditionally, to not make the entire relationship about getting them to do the things that you want them to do because you're so afraid for their future. It is their job to learn to take responsibility for their future. They need to experience pain so that they can make the decisions to become resilient. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of your kids will never become resilient, will never become successful, and will totally fail at life completely. And some of them are going to go through pain, and they are going to use that as a springboard into success and resilience. But they have to make the choices. You cannot make the choices for them. And if you continue to make the choices for them, then guess what? They don't know how to make the choices that lead to resilience on their own. Anybody else? Any other thoughts or check-ins? And I like the attitude with which you did it. You had no investment in his decision. You've got, and I love your question. Your question is, well, how did you get yourself to not parent for 2 weeks, to stop nagging, to stop responding? It isn't easy, but it's also not impossible. And so I like their response. Their response was, number one, they supported each other in it. They held each other accountable. Number two, they were willing to ask for help and accept help, both through this group and elsewhere. Number three, they kept trying. They thought about it often, all day, every day during those 2 weeks. They took the 2-week hiatus seriously, with no exceptions. They were willing to see their child fail. Now, and I love that you're sharing that. During that 2 weeks, you bonded with your child in a way that you hadn't been for a long time. And the other part of your story that I love is that things didn't go well during those 2 weeks. There just wasn't any argument. There was bonding, and he did what he does. And then you followed it up after the 2 weeks with one boundary. I'm not willing to pay for your cell phone bill unless you participate in school, because I feel like that's me enabling stuff that I don't like. It's not I'm going to punish you. It's not I'm going to take this away to try to control you. It's just, hey, man, I don't feel good about this. The spirit of boundaries is important. See, his son might choose not to go to school again. And my advice in that is follow through with the boundary quietly. Don't remind him, and love on him as he gets angry about it. And as he suffers the loss of the phone, suffers the consequences of not going to school. Love on him. That's a hard time, man. If I told you, hey, your child's suffering, they made some mistakes and they're suffering it, theoretically, most parents would go, oh man, yeah, I just want to love them through it and make sure that they know I'm here. And but we don't do that. You guys, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't always turn out that quickly so well. Be optimistic and know that you have the support of your husband if you feel disappointed and have to grieve. There's no reason to not be optimistic, you guys, as long as you have good, healthy reactions to feeling disappointed. I know with psychology and therapy, everybody's looking for how to magically motivate themselves to do things that they are having a hard time getting themselves to do. That doesn't exist. We have been trying to find that ever since Freud, and there's no magic to doing difficult things. And for a parent, it's really difficult to stop nagging. It's really difficult to practice 90-10. And you have to be diligent in making that decision on a daily, sometimes 10 times a day basis. If you want to remind yourself, put sticky notes up, put reminders on your phone, tattoo it on your forehead. I don't know, but making it tangible, constantly being reminded, practicing in the mirror, talking about it here in group, talking about it with somebody like a friend or a spouse, and then repeating that is what makes it eventually stick. I'm going to give you all 2 challenges tonight. Number 1, track your 90-10. hold yourself accountable by just kind of making notes throughout the day. The way you track 90-10 is you make a note or two throughout the day about how much time, effort, energy you've put into parenting. Number 2, focus on yourself. Rather than holding your child accountable for all the stuff they are doing wrong, I want you holding yourself accountable for how many healthy interactions or healthy behaviors or unhealthy behaviors you do throughout the week. Trying to practice 90-10 and then focusing on yourself is a lot of work if you're not used to it. You're not going to have time to focus much on your kids. If I'm focusing on myself, I'm more likely to let my child fail. I don't like that phrase. I don't like let my child fail. I'm more likely to not take responsibility for their choices that may lead to failure.
The Hope for Parents with Struggling Teens podcast is an Inspired Resolutions production, hosted by Brandon Jaffe, edited and mixed by Natalie Atkinson, music by Natalie and Sean Atkinson. Inspired Resolutions Counseling is based in Yorba Linda, California. Whether you're interested in joining our group, seeking therapy services, or exploring more of our resources, you can find us on our website, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at Inspired Resolutions Counseling.